Whether it's through live education or maybe through social media, we're always trying to make a personal connection with you, the learner.
At SamVia, we believe our smile is our business card and our personality is our logo. And how we make people feel after you experience our education and tools is our trademark.
Join us.
Join us.
Join us.
Join us, my friends, and be a part of the SamVia community.
Hey friends, welcome to Cabin Fever. I'm Andrew Carruthers, Education Director for SamVia. Thanks for being here. I see we've got Santa Barbara City College students in the house. What's up, guys? We love our hair school students. Glad you're here. We got Lori and Colleen, and I'm going to probably not get this name right. I apologize. I'm guessing Anshu. Welcome. So if you haven't joined us before on this particular podcast, Cabin Fever is really our opportunity to bring wellness into our community. I have a personal passion for it because I've been training as a life coach for quite a long time. And so Sam, especially when COVID-19 hit, he suggested that we start this broadcast so that we can bring some of that coaching and wellness aspect into our hair community. So today, I was introduced to this woman through my personal life coach, who is Lynn Christian. She has a company called Soul Salt. And Lynn highly recommended this woman because she has some really great pillars of health that we can look to, especially in times like this where we've got some challenging things happening in our world. We have to be great to ourselves. We have to take care of ourselves so that we can have that resilience and we can have health, so we can help to make the changes in our world that we need, that we can have the strength to make it through these times where we have a virus out there. So it's so important to us, like I said, as a company, that we offer this to you. So let's welcome our guest for today. Her name is Shannon Doleac. Let's bring Shannon in there, Kurt. Hi, Shannon.
Hi, Andrew.
How are you this morning?
I'm great, thank you.
Well, I guess it's on, well, no, you're still morning because you're in Utah, right?
That's right, yep, close to noon.
So tell us a little bit about you and just the concept behind your company, Primal Peak, and what we're talking about today.
Yeah, I am a nutritionist, and I came into the nutrition world through just self-interest as an athlete. So I was a gymnast from a very young age and always interested in health and wellness. And I also was interested in fitness and the mind and how those three things interacted to help us be the best that we could be or perform at our ultimate. And nutrition kind of stuck out to me because it's something that I really feel is ultra important to the root of our health. And so I can talk a little bit more about that. Pursued education in all three areas, but ended up with a master's in nutrition, and then opened up my own coaching business and started this online website called Primal Peak. And really my goal with Primal Peak is to reach people, reach families, and reach kids and encourage more of a connection to real food.
Very cool. So I know the sports aspect played a part in it as well. What kind of created that passion for especially working through the food channel?
Yeah, I realized early on that the foods that I ate definitely impacted how I felt in the gym. And so I knew when I ate junky, I didn't feel my best. And what I really was hoping for was someone to just give me that magic formula, like tell me what to eat so that I can feel my best and perform at my best. But ultimately, I realized that there is no magic formula out there when it comes to food. And so it was kind of a road of discovery of how to navigate all the information that's out there and take away some of these basic concepts and help share them with other people. So most of my clients come to me also looking for that magic formula. And so we work through the process of, discovering what's right for you and what works best for you.
Yeah. So what I think is so interesting too is that we've had a couple of people that specialize in nutrition on the show so far, and it seems like so much of nutrition is kind of working away from this, like, okay, here's your diet plan that's like perfectly scripted out, like it, and it sounds like just nutrition in general is kind of going the same way as just even coaching, which is it's very excuse me, individual. So is that kind of been your experience with it?
Yeah, definitely. I think that there are some underlying ideas that we can all apply. And, that really is the root of what I stand for. But what's also really key is that people start tuning into and gaining an awareness of their own body, which we've become a little bit just disconnected all around. We'll talk about disconnection in terms of the 7 pillars, but even just disconnected to our own feelings and our own response to things. And so, tapping back into that is really key for figuring out the foods that best support your own health, for sure. And, as a gymnast growing up in the 80s, I was knee deep in the low fat craze that was out there. And it was, it kind of was like the beginning of really breaking down food into its individual parts. So it really was about counting protein grams. It was, for me, it was like, oh, I can't eat fat or I'm going to get fat. And so it was really looking at food less as a whole and more for its individual parts. So I did have a phase where I was turning to the protein bars or the protein shakes, and really always had a clean approach to food, meaning that I did try and seek out, fruits and vegetables and what I thought were really clean ingredients at the time. But I was missing that element of just the magic that's in real food sometimes, and the magic that is in food that the earth naturally provides for us. And so that's, what I think about now and what I help other people think about. And sometimes breaking free from the counting of calories and the weighing and measuring, and really just looking at like where your food is coming from helps a lot of people let go of the pressures and the overwhelm around nutrition.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the message that we've heard from other people too, is just so much of it comes down to so many of these diet plans that it's like, well, this is the perfect way to eat, and this is the perfect way to eat, and this is how many calories. It just creates so much stress and heaviness in people's lives that it's almost working against them a lot of times.
Yeah, I agree. I think that when you get stuck in that rut, even if you're eating really well, when you have that stress hanging over you or you have that extra worry, then your body can't find its natural state. It can't find that place of what we call homeostasis, where it's just balanced and happy.
Right. So let's jump into the 7 pillars, because I want to make sure we touch on all those, because that's definitely everything that, like you have so much to offer within those 7 pillars. I want to make sure everyone gets it. Just to let you know, I don't know if you can see the comments, but it's really cool. We've got people from Holland, we've got Mexico, we've got some New Yorkers, we've got Portugal in the house, Vancouver, BC, California, Pennsylvania. So good audience, good widespread audience. It's awesome. So take us into the 7 pillars. Let's dig into it.
Yeah. So the 7 pillars really are the foundation for putting our best foot forward. So if you jump on my website, there's a page about the 7 pillars of peak potential, or I think it's written as peak performance. And what I don't want people to be is afraid of that word performance. So I also like to use the word potential. And really, it's about putting our best foot forward wherever we're at in life. And so those 7 pillars really are the basic tenets of health that I think support us the most. And, unfortunately, it's those 7 pillars that I found begin to crumble quickly or crumble first with our modern hectic lifestyle. And yet, if you think about, the basics of life, the 7 pillars are the things that kids naturally turn to for support and comfort. So I'll just say what they are right now so we can, use those in conversation. But
Cool.
They are in no particular order. Their mind is one, body, food, nature, importance of play, the importance of people, and then rest is the last one.
Yeah.
And so they seem really simple, and yet they tend to be the things that fall off of our priority list very quickly in today's.
Yeah.
And so my goal is to just wake us back up a little bit and see if we can reconnect to some of these important supports for health and wellness. And, maybe even this time is an opportunity to look into them even more. Well, some of us are, maybe we're home more often, maybe we have more downtime. We're kind of changing how we look at life a little bit. And this is an opportunity.
Yeah, for sure. The one that made me smile so much when you first introduced this to me was nature.
Yeah.
Because I think that that's something that's so key. And I was actually talking to some of my friends in New York City. And, for them, especially if you're living on the 40th floor on a high rise, it's tough to, especially during the lockdown and everything, it's been really challenging for people to get outside. And that's one of the things that I hear so often from people is just, I just want to be outside. So it's I think there's this internal kind of spiritual part of us that feels such a connection to out there. And you're right, though. It's so easy to get just stuck here at our desk and not have that time and space. And then it can be challenging right now if you don't live in a place that you have a backyard that you can at least get out into or something. It can be challenging.
Yeah, absolutely. I think nature is, like you're saying, one that we can all relate to right now. I think there are even people that live in the bigger cities that are looking for opportunities to move or escape into more rural areas because they're missing that connection. And nature really does help us heal, and it really is revitalizing. And I think that we've isolated ourselves with all of our modern conveniences. And even those of us that live in a place where we have easy access, it is still easy to go through your day and never touch the earth. If you think about the homes we live in, with strong foundations, if you think about, we wear often rubber-soled shoes, we drive, in cars with rubber tires, we're headed to an office that's, has artificial light. And so we really can just separate ourselves from this natural world. And yet we come from nature, our species grew from nature. And it really is an important, I'm going to call it an element, to our health. I think there are a lot of things that we can do to reconnect no matter where we are, even if it is trying to bring a little bit of nature inside with plants or with fresh herbs that we can put on our windowsill. Yay!
I definitely like to have little plants in my office and stuff because I'm I think probably a lot of you can relate to this. I mean, I know a lot of you are hairdressers, but there might be some of you that do work in offices and stuff. And just sitting in front of this electronic screen all day can just just being able to look down and see a plant down there for a second is enough to make me go, Oh, okay. I'm okay.
Yeah, for sure. I think one thing that sticks out in my mind just as a child is that I spent a lot of hours in a gym. And I didn't, those hours I was not connecting to nature at all.
Yeah.
But what I remember about my childhood is often the moments when I did. So, for example, in fifth grade, we went on a week-long overnight camp. It was called environmental camp, and it was through school. And I was not sure. I was shy about it. I didn't really want to go. And through that week, I had the most like fulfilling time. I didn't want to come home. We
Mm.
were out there hiking, living in cabins, just really connecting, unplugged, and it just felt so nourishing and so good. So I think not all of us can go take a week long, vacation, especially right now. But even
Right.
if you can get outside and find a place to just sit, I think allowing ourselves to observe the natural world around us, just
Mm.
listening, noticing is a really good step. Um, it's an awareness again, and it's kind of getting you out of your everyday rhythm, kind of opening up your eyes to the natural world again.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's like you said, I think one of the key points of what you're sharing is that's where we came from.
Mhm.
Like we get so kind of absorbed into this stuff around us, and that's not where we came from. We came from, we came from nature.
Yes,
And
yes, I
so
have this
it's great to
kind of,
reconnect to that.
yes, I have this concept with through all the seven pillars, which is that we're on such a mission to accomplish more right now that we've lost our sense of being more. And
Mm.
so I think that applies really well to nature, because I think sometimes we can get wrapped up in, our goals, our career goals, or sometimes our hobbies, and we forget to make time to connect to where we came from and what ultimately fills us up.
Yeah. So I think your story kind of transitions us well into the play factor because like thinking about being at camp and stuff, that's the first thing I think about. It's like, oh, playtime.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I think that this pillar is all about exploration. It's all about curiosity, and it's about fun. And kids are naturally the best at play.
Mhm.
Every time my kids come home from school, their words are, "I just want to go out and play." Right? They don't even have to describe what that means to them. It's just, I need to go have fun. And yet, as adults, we often think of play as being childish. And I think, you know, when you're really in the moment and you have no agenda and you're really exploring and being curious, there's also a little element of being vulnerable. And I think sometimes that limits us as adults. Like we don't like that vulnerable space. And so we kind of shy away from play as we get older. But I would encourage everybody to try and bring that back into your life, even schedule it a little bit of time on your calendar to make room for the things you love. You can start there. What just brings you joy, that where the outcome doesn't matter, right? Whatever comes of it has no effect on, your success or what you think of yourself. And follow children, because we can learn so much through them about what it means to just be curious and explore the world around us. And I really think that play is where imagination is born, and it's where just new ideas spark from, which we could all use.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think even,
So
again, as a gymnast, um, I trained really hard, and there were a lot of moments that I had to be very disciplined. And yet, when I think about play, there were times when my teammates and I would show up early to the gym, and we'd just create our own games on the trampoline, or we'd
mm,
make up dances together. And it was just through that creative expression where no one was critiquing us or judging us, that we were allowed to just figure things out. And oftentimes that the information that we gained transferred over into creating the unique gymnast that we were.
Interesting. Yeah, there's definitely there's a difference in when you're doing an activity almost with an intention behind it versus if you're just doing it just for the sake of doing it. I think you're so spot on with the fact that we're not real good at doing things just for the fun of doing them. And I think part of it is like we're taught so often that everything has to have an outcome to it. And if we let go of the need for an outcome, it so changes the experience. And it gives us time to just be like, let's just see what happens. Maybe nothing will happen. Who cares? Mm-hmm. Is one of the things within coaching that comes up super often is the coaching clients that like, well, I don't know the right thing to do here. It's like, okay, well, stop looking for the right thing. Just play, just experiment. Like put a little something over here and see if it grows. Put a little something over here, see if that grows. Like the need for outcome definitely, I think, is one of the big things that changes how we look at our experience. And I think even for our hairdresser friends that are here, that's an important part, I think, that we as hairdressers miss within our own craft. Like we don't take time to grab the mannequin head and just play with no intent. We don't need to learn a specific haircut. We don't need to do anything specific with it. Just get some hair in front of you and put your hands in it and play just and have fun. And I think you're so spot on with your relation to how it developed you as a gymnast. Is those are the moments sometimes where it's like, oh, here's my personal flavor. Here's infusing my work with who I actually am.
Yeah, that reminds me too of, I used to tell myself all along, or I used to love the quote that says, life is about the journey, not the destination. Mm-hmm. And I think I was able to apply that so well as a gymnast. Like I really wanted to be the best gymnast that I could be, but my goals were often goals that I had some control over. And I really loved going in and training every day and challenging myself. Whereas I didn't set these outcome goals that I didn't have control over. And I'm not sure where that came from, but I did a really good job of that. And I was able to walk away from the sport feeling very fulfilled, no matter what I accomplished. And yet that is harder to apply now to my life as an adult. But I'm trying to pull from these experiences that I had as a child, because I think that gives us a lot of information about how we as adults can improve our lives as well.
So what do you feel is the next step in our 7 pillars?
Well, I think talking a little bit about the mind is kind of flows from enjoying the journey a little bit.
Okay.
When I say mind, I'm talking about just caring for the mind and how we can best support our mind. And the two things that pop up for me are mindset and mindfulness. And with mindset, I really mean how we look at the world. So the attitudes and the beliefs that we carry forward. And if we can look at our glass as half full rather than half empty. And so, I think that you can, in your life right now, think about what is your self-talk? What does that look like? Are you one that is very critical of yourself? Are there a lot of can'ts in your language? Are there a lot of, I should be doing this, or I'm not capable of doing that? How are you talking to yourself? And how are the people that are around you talking? Are they lifting up your spirits, or do you feel drained when you leave spending time with them?
Yeah.
And then another is mindfulness. And, I think when it comes to mindfulness, I'm really talking about being present or being in the here and the now. And it's so easy for us these days to spend time in the past or worry about the future. Mm-hmm. Or it's very hard. It's very rare for us to really be present in the moment. Yeah. And so things like meditation actually can help you become more aware of the here and now. But these two concepts pop into my mind too, because as a young gymnast, my dad always helped me kind of approach sport with the 3 Z's, he called them. And one is the 3 Z's.
Okay.
The first one is Zen. And that was all about deep breathing to create a sense of calm. So you're basically bringing your body into a calmer state. And then the second one is zone. And that is like the getting into the zone. You hear about that a lot when you talk about athletic performance. And that is once your body is calmer, then you're able to kind of focus on the task that's right in front of you. And you kind of create this tunnel vision where the distractions and the noise around you fade away. And so you're really all about the moment. And then the third Z is zoom. And that's just letting your body and your mind do what it knows how to do. So whether that is in sport or it's in your career, you're practicing in your training for certain moments. And if you allow your body to get into a state where it can settle in and do what it knows how to do, then chances are you're going to have a better outcome than if you're overthinking or you're over concerned about what will be. Right. And so, the mind was one of my powerful tools, I guess, as an athlete. And so again, it's how can we all, utilize this powerful tool that we have to help us through, whether it's these current challenging times or just our everyday life, so that we can get the most out of it.
Right. Very cool. And, you mentioned meditation. And one thing I just want to kind of touch on with that is I think sometimes people think of meditation as they have to get out their pillow and light some incense and sit in a certain position and chant Om. And that is one way of meditating. But the fact of the matter is mindfulness and presence is meditation. Like you can be just walking outside. You can be standing at your desk in a meditative state if you're just like Shannon is telling us, to be present, to not be wondering what's going to happen next, to not be worried about what you said 5 minutes ago, but just to be present with the space you're in, what are the energies you're experiencing, what are the emotions you're feeling, and just bringing presence to those things. That's actually meditation. So guess what? I bet most of you have probably meditated a few times already.
Exactly. I think people are very intimidated by the word meditation or the concept of meditation. But, even in my coaching practice or when I'm working with young kids in the kitchen, it's all about taking time to just smell the fresh herbs that you're working with, or, even noticing, we talk about using our 5 senses while you're cooking and tuning in. And when you're doing that, you have no choice but to be present.
Yeah.
Right. And when you're present, you're fully experiencing.
Yeah. Yeah. Anshu just said meditating while cutting hair. And yeah, how many of you, our hairdresser friends out there, how many of you sometimes find yourself you realize that you haven't even talked to your client in the last 10 or 15 minutes because I used to do this when I was doing super fine weaves, in the salon. I'd get so focused on just taking that little weave comb and picking up every little tiny piece of hair that I wanted. I would just be so focused and just nothing else was happening in our world. It was just that. So food, this is one of my favorite subjects. And you've set it up perfectly, because what I realized, I always used to say that eating was almost like a spiritual experience for myself. And people would be like, that's kind of a weird statement to make. But what I realized is that I have such a connection to cooking and enjoying great food and sitting down with family and friends for food, that like you said, I think turns into a meditation practice for me, especially through COVID. My finish of my day, after I close down everything here at the computer, I go downstairs, turn on some music, I start cooking. It just just gives me so much peace. So let's talk about food.
Yeah. I think the idea about this magic formula that I was talking about earlier with real food is, a good way to kind of carry over that earlier conversation with now, and that we really can't outsmart nature. And so if we can just think about bringing in fresh ingredients to our homes as often as possible and uniting our family or our friends around that experience, then it adds a whole new element to food. Like, food certainly nourishes our physical body, and we need that. We survive from food, but it also really nourishes our mental health, it nourishes our emotional health and our spiritual health. And one thing that we've noticed as a family through the COVID shutdown is that we are loving the consistency in having family meal time, not just sitting down eating together, but also the experience of meal planning and cooking together. And so I've got 2 young boys. They're 10 and 12, so they're not super young. And it's always been a priority of mine to teach them how to cook and have them feel very confident in the kitchen. But because we're not distracted by late night sports, or we're not distracted by trying to cram in homework, at 8:30, then we have that ability to just take a deep breath and actually come together, and everyone is contributing to the family meal. And everyone loves that part of it. They love feeling like they made a difference in that meal. And so that's been really neat to see. I think as a gymnast, my hours training were insane in high school. Mostly I was training from 3, I would go to school for a full day and then go to practice from 3 to 9 p.m. every day. And I was an only child, so this helped, but my parents made sure that even though I wasn't getting home till 9:30, we all sat down and had a family meal together every single day. And I think that was one of the really important pieces that grounded me around establishing a healthy relationship around food. So it wasn't just my individual perception about nutrition and food, it was that we united together and we celebrated together. And, I know it's really tricky today when we're in our normal routines, where we have, families scattered doing all different things. It's really hard to come together. But if there's anything that you can do to make that a priority, even if it's once or twice a week, then that experience is invaluable. And so, it is, again, it's not just about the nutrients. Like, we can get into great detail about what you need in order to be at your best health-wise. But even if you do that, if you're not uniting around food and celebrating food, then, you're missing out on that as a nutrient in itself.
Yeah. You guys know that I'm a total hippie, so, forgive me for getting all woo-woo on you, but I deeply believe in energy. And I deeply believe that what you put into that food, you get back out of it. And so even if you're buying organic ingredients and being really careful with what you put on your plate, if you're pissed off while you're cooking and you're not enjoying it, and you're not infusing that happiness and joy and positivity, and, all those great energies into it, I don't think it tastes as good. And there's a really specific example. So in Salt Lake City, where I lived for quite a long time, there was a little vegetarian restaurant called Evergreen. And it was owned by this couple, Mr. and Mrs. Two. And Mr. and Mrs. Two were the cutest, most wonderful, sweet human beings you'd ever want to meet in your entire life. Every person that walked through that door were their best friends, just treated everyone like gold. And they loved to cook for people. Now, they made vegetarian Chinese food, which doesn't always equate to super healthy because, it's processed soy ingredients, and it's breaded and then it's fried and, covered with tons of soy sauce and tons of sugary, salty wonderfulness. But I would walk out of that restaurant feeling just so good after I ate there, I was full. My belly was heavy, but there was just something energetically that I would walk out of there and I was like, man, I feel so great right now. And it was Mr. and Mrs. too. It wasn't even the actual ingredients on the plate, I don't think. I think it was their energy that I was pulling from the eating process.
Yeah, I think too, if we look at a lot of indigenous peoples and the experience, the full experience that they put into the food that's around them, it's so much more than just the food itself. And even, whole ceremonies are focused around food and celebrating that. And I agree. I think there's a lot of energy that goes into that we feel through our body that is just as nourishing. I think too, anytime people can get out and grow anything on their own, then it awakens us to that energy from the earth as well. So we're eating food, but that food is growing from the sun and from the healthy soil that it's living in. And, or even if we're eating animals, hopefully those animals are living off of a land where they're able to eat the foods that they're meant to eat and that best support their body. And so that nutrition translates over, that energy translates over into our body, and we can feel that. So if you've got kids, if you can even just grow, a container garden on your back patio, or have fresh herbs on your windowsill, or go big and actually have a full garden or a small homestead, there is great value in that. Just touching the earth and feeling that energy.
Yeah. How many of you guys out there do have some kind of home garden out there? Give us a thumbs up, or you can just say yes in the comments. But I know for Michelle and I, we bought this house. It's on 7 acres of land, and it was insane. We just crazy when we first moved here. The land hadn't been taken care of. The house was in shambles. So we've spent the last 4 years really kind of just cleaning up the space and everything. And that's definitely next on the list. Is I definitely want to start to have some fresh stuff here. We're pretty spoiled though, because we have like so many neighbors that have little farms and stuff that we're always getting like a basket of greens from this person, eggs from this person. Yeah, I mean, it just tastes so much better when it's something that either came from your yard or your neighbors. And yeah, sorry, I got distracted because I just saw Anshu's comment. I got to bring this up. It was so funny. She said, yes, but when we found a snake, now I'm scared to go in my yard. You got to make friends with that snake, Anshu. That's awesome.
Yeah, I think that community aspect too that you're talking about with even your neighbors growing food is really important. If we can get back to that, right? Like where we're sharing and we're helping each other out. And I think that translates over well into the pillar of people, if we wanted to go there.
Yeah, let's go there for sure.
Yeah, well, the idea there is really about connection. It's connection to your family and your friends and your community, but I'm talking about true connection. So ideally, it's face-to-face connection, or as close as we can get. And today, that's not easy for all of us to do. There are ways we can work around that, but I think we often feel a false sense today of connection through platforms like social media. Mm-hmm. There's good that can come out of social media for sure. But I do think that if we're gathering our connection from social media, then it actually is leading to more loneliness and potentially anxiety. Where when you're actually connecting to somebody, you're reading their body language, you're hearing their tone of voice, and you're seeing their facial expressions. And those elements are really important when it comes to connection and it comes to communication. And so I think we need to make sure that we are reaching out directly to the people that matter most to us and best support us. Are we tuned into them? Are we tuned into what our local communities need right now? Are we thinking about ways that we can reach out beyond sending an email or a text? Like maybe you can send a handwritten card or, a letter every now and then, because how does that feel when you receive something like that versus when
something physical? Yeah.
Exactly. Something that's tangible and it's right there. It's like, oh my goodness, like that person took time and spent time to execute that and send it to me. And that feels really good. And so I think we all know that connection is important, but I think that there are too many ways to just superficially connect today. And we need to remember about what it means to more deeply connect, because we are social beings by nature, and we really thrive off of feeling a connection to another human being.
Yeah, there's a ton of studies out right now just talking about kind of loneliness and separation, and how that's just feeding so much into our world. And so I'm so with you here. I think that personal connection, and even with COVID, we've been having outdoor beverages, pretty often throughout the week, just like, hey, grab a beer from your fridge, bring your own chair, we'll sit outside 6 feet from each other, and we'll just talk like real people. And also within our company, we're a remote company. Everyone works from home. And so we've started to do video conferencing instead of just phone. Because at least then, you had kind of mentioned that there's something that's so lost when we can't see each other, or especially hear each other. If it's just typed words, it is so easy to be misunderstood. It's easy to miss the intention, miss that connection. But at least here, which is, a great resource that we do have at the moment. It's not perfect, but it's at least something we can do. At least here I can actually see your face. I can hear inflection in your voice. I can see how you're sitting. And like it tells me if we're having a genuine conversation. And it's, man, multitasking, like I think that's been a huge problem for connection too. My wife and I, we're pretty good about it. Sometimes I catch myself, but we've kind of made an agreement. If this comes out while we're talking, no, like this gets put down. And since I do work from home, like, I might be kind of typing away on a text or something, and Michelle will start to talk to me, and I'll say, okay, actually, hang on 1 second. Let me finish this so that I actually can be present with her during that, because I don't want to have one hand here and then one ear going this direction, because that's not healthy.
Yeah, exactly. I catch myself with my kids. So my kids will call me out on it too. And they, you can feel it when I'm too tapped into my phone or working from home when I shouldn't be, then they act out. Like they're saying, no, like this is our time. And so I feel it from them. One cool thing too we've been doing through the lockdown is connecting with some friends that live out in San Diego, and we both have the same board game. And so as families, we've been playing this board game over FaceTime. So we set up the same arrangement of the board game and move each other's pieces, on each end. And that's
cool.
Because just like you're saying, you feel so much. We don't even have to have as in-depth conversations, and we can see each other laughing, and you walk away feeling just boosted up, where we wouldn't if we just called them and talked on the phone. So that's been an experience for us too. And then again, thinking back to my days as an athlete, it was my tribe in the gym that gave me strength every day. So the teammates of mine that I had all had similar interests, and I looked forward to going to the gym to be with my tribe. I looked forward to going to the gym to receive the tutelage of my coaches. And then when I grew up in New Hampshire, and I moved across the country to the University of Utah to go to school when I was 18. And that was a big move for me. And yet I was received by this new tribe. I had a built-in family waiting for me. And those were the people that I needed support from. Like I called upon, and they called upon me, and we were there for each other. And so people today, I encourage you to find your direct tribe, not your social media tribe, but your the people that actually are there to support you when you need it.
Yeah. So key. So key. So I don't want to run us out of time. So I think there's 2 left.
Yeah.
So what's the next one?
Let's talk about movement or body, what I call one of the pillars. And yeah, like this one started for me again early on. I had a love for fitness, just being an athlete, and I knew that moving your body was important for health. And so at first it was all about performance, but over time, working with people and going through my own phases of life, it became more about movement rather than exercise. And I think we're designed to move, and yet we can go through most of our day very sedentary. If you consider our ancestors, they had to be able to do things like sprint and climb and crawl and squat and pull and push in order to survive. They had to have those skills to hunt, gather food, build shelter, or ward off predators. And today we don't have to really do any of that if we don't want to. And so we're just pushed to, we know that exercise or movement is important. So we're pushed to go to the gym. And often, I am kind of a gym rat, but there are a lot of people out there that don't like the gym. And so
I don't.
Yeah, it's perceived more as punishment than it is enjoyment, right? And so anytime we're punishing ourselves, are we really benefiting? Like you're saying with food and being angry, that energy isn't benefiting us if we're miserable while we're doing it. So I really want to encourage people to find something that they love to do actively. And it could be anything. And there's research out there showing that when people truly do something that they enjoy in terms of movement, their body benefits far more from it than if they're, just trying to get through and check off the box of, I went and did this class for an hour, but I was miserable. And so, and there's a lot more out there that we don't probably think about when it comes to movement. So it doesn't have to be, working with Nautilus equipment. It doesn't have to be taking a group exercise class. It can be combining some of these other pillars and getting outside and hiking if you have access. It can be dancing. Like even if you're stuck at home right now and no one's around watching, you can just turn up that music and dance and have some fun, like playing and expressing yourself. And it's so beneficial for your body at the same time. And I also think we forget about the benefits of moving our body beyond strength and flexibility and mobility, but it's really good for our immunity. It's really good for our digestive health and our brain health and even our self-esteem.
Yeah.
And so I think, being creative and, maybe even you think about how our ancestors might have had to move. And the next time you are outside, you and your kids set up a mini obstacle course, on in your backyard or in your favorite trail. And, you get down low and you're creative. You do some bear crawls, you do some alligator slides, things like that. So really the idea is that we need to take care of this vessel that we're carrying ourselves in and trying to have some enjoyment along the way.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for setting that up too, that movement is much more than just exercise to build a muscle or to lose weight. We tend to associate exercise with a lot of times some kind of actual physical change in our body. And there's so much more to it. Excuse me. So my training is in multiple brain integration techniques. And one of the things we talk about is the heart and the intelligence of the heart. And of course, if you move, what gets activated? The heart. So especially if I'm working with someone that has a heart-based kind of challenge, which could be connection, it could be sense of meaning and purpose, those heart-based challenges, one of the best things you can do to get that heart back active is to just move. And yeah, it doesn't have to be at the gym. It can just be like, okay, you know. And sometimes I'll have my coaching clients, I'll be like, you know what, you can just move around in your chair a little bit, like just get your body reconnected or something. Because people, as they get stuck or as they get stressed, they just kind of constrict and they get so tight. And that movement, it helps to just re-release all that stuff, get us back into a place that we're trusting the intelligence that our body has for us.
Yeah, definitely. And I think even just like you say, think outside the box. And when we were talking to you about even eating food and like just that energy throughout, it's the same for all of these pillars, right? Like they're very interconnected and they play off of each other. So I agree, there's something there. And then of course with movement, we need rest. So that's the last pillar. And I think we think about rest often as sleep, but I'm also including downtime when I talk about rest. And I think, we can prioritize sleep probably even better than we can prioritize downtime. But when we're allowing our body a break is when our body is actually healing. It's when it's rebuilding. It's when it's taking care of itself. And so it needs that freedom to be able to do that. We need to allow it the space and the time in order to heal. So if we're constantly walking around like zombies and we're pushing really hard, then we're never really working at our full capacity or our full potential. And yet it's really hard for us, I think, today to make time for rest, make time for sleep, because we feel like we're lazy or we're being unproductive or we're getting behind in what we're trying to accomplish.
Back to the productivity trap.
Yeah, exactly. And so there are things that you can do, again, to improve that rest in your day-to-day and your week-to-week. And that may even be setting a time where you're done with the screen, you're done with social media, you're done with your phone, you're done with your computer. And they say that too can really help our bodies settle into a space where it can relax and it can get ready for sleep. And then being consistent. And, again, like we've found that a lot easier the last 2 to 3 months to be more consistent with a routine. So maybe we can carry that over as life continues on and try and commit to that. So going to bed at a time that's similar every day, and then setting yourself up for quality sleep with not bringing your phone into your room or not having a TV in your bedroom, making sure that your bedroom is a place that's meant for sleep. It's dark, it's cool enough, some place where you're not overheating. So you're creating an environment that's conducive. And you're also, before you go to bed, maybe you're doing an activity as a family that's mellow, or you're burning candles instead of, having bright blue emitting light, over you. And again, schedule in some downtime throughout the day. Like even if it's 5 minutes, that can really help you. If it's 5 minutes after you accomplished a task, or if it's 5 minutes that you're taking for yourself before your kids come home from school, or maybe it's waking up in the morning and giving yourself 5 minutes to write in a gratitude journal, something you're grateful for. Like I consider those things downtime in parts of the rest equation.
Yeah. With one of my, I know this sounds weird, but with one of my credit cards that I have, I got a free year of the Calm app, which is a great little app, by the way, if you're interested. It's called Calm, CALM. But on there, LeBron James actually has this series of 5 things. And I'm not a sports guy, and I know who LeBron James is, of course, but I had no idea how kind of like thoughtful this dude is. It's really cool, because he was talking about his way that he prepares. And like, I think of a basketball player and I'm thinking like, yeah, it's gym, it's workout, it's all this stuff. And he's like, no, like it's meditation. And his big thing is sleep. He did a whole thing just on sleep, how it's perfectly scheduled. And he said it will be the last thing that he will give up in a day. It's the most important thing for him personally, is at this time I go to bed, at this time I wake up. He takes a specific nap at a certain time before his games. So I was like, whoa, this is so interesting that this super professional athlete that's just so talented, he's telling us sleep is actually one of the best tools to prepare ourselves for these big events and these big challenges that we face. And I just thought that was so interesting.
Yeah, that's really cool. I've heard of some other very successful people too, where that is their number one thing that they don't give on. Mm-hmm. Right. And they, you can compare it yourself too. You can do a little self-experiment where you give yourself a week where you're very consistent with when you go to bed and you really try and set yourself up for good quality sleep and see how you feel. And then, you can either compare it to what you normally do, or then try another week where you kind of go with the flow and tune into your body. How do you feel? Are you waking up recovered and ready to attack the day? Are you waking up exhausted and kind of zombie-like moving, from your bed to the coffee machine? Or
right.
So, self-experiments are a great exercise when it comes to health in general, or any of these pillars.
So cool. Well, I've definitely absorbed a ton from the 7 pillars so far, and I love how it all kind of weaves together. Tell us a little bit about how we can stay connected with you, because you've got just tons of comments from people just saying how much they appreciate this so far and how much they've learned. So I'm sure there's people that would like to stay in contact with you. How can they stay in contact with you?
Yeah, you can visit my website. It's primalpeak.com, and even sign up for a free newsletter. And then also my social media handle is Primal Peak. So you can find me there, mostly on Instagram, a little bit on Facebook. I also have a peak potential journal that can be found on Amazon. And it's really guides people through a way to make sure that they're tuning into the 7 pillars. It also allows for a daily gratitude reflection, setting an intention, and a space to just doodle and even record like a daily win. I think that that's something that people forget to do, is look at what was something great that happened today. And so people find that really helpful. So those are the ways that you can stay connected, and you can reach out through the website.
Yeah. And then there was a promotion that you want to offer our crew too, right?
Yeah, I do have a 4 weeks of real food program. It is on my website, and it's kind of like that. And yes, as listeners to the show, you can receive a discount on that. So if you head over to primalpeak.com and you find the 4 weeks of real food tab and you enter the promo code, then you will get, I think it's $10 off. And that's a great program that just wakes people up to their own body and how you respond. And again, increases awareness about what real food is and how we can reach for those ingredients first.
Very cool. And I'll make sure that all those links are put into the description box on the video. And like all of our video content, you guys are welcome to come back and revisit this content anytime. And, there was so much information that it would probably be good to come back and revisit it for sure. Shannon, thank you so much for joining us. You can just kind of hang back for a minute. I'll talk to you just after we close up here. But everyone, just, I'd love for you to give her a heart or a thumbs up or something. Just show her some gratitude. You've already definitely typed in some gratitude here. Next week, I have a guest that I think is going to be super fun. Her name is Mary Wilson. She's definitely been a part of our industry for a very long time. But it's going to be a very different kind of experience because I think most of you have probably heard the word chakra and probably wondered, what is a chakra? And some of you, I know that this show probably attracts many of you that do actually have a connection to that information. But she is actually incredible at teaching what is a chakra? How do you access it? What is it there for? And it's not actually as kind of spiritually woo-woo as you might think it is. It's actually very practical ways to balance ourselves out. So that's going to be next week, next Friday here on the Sam Via Facebook and YouTube. Same time, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. Next week on Tuesday with Sammy, you guys are going to love this guest. His name's Shannon King. He's been a great friend of Sam and mine for a very long time. We actually rescheduled him. He was supposed to be on 2 weeks ago. Thankfully, he's able to do this week. He's been preparing his salon in New York City to get back to business. But this dude is just an incredible hairdresser. So we're super excited to have him on Tuesday with Sammy next Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern. What does that make it? 8 a.m. East? Yeah, 8 a.m. Pacific. So don't miss that for sure. But if you guys have any suggestions on what you would like to learn or what you'd like to see on our channel, please just send us a message because we love your feedback. And just one last time, I want to thank my guest, Shannon Doleac, for joining us. Definitely learned a ton from her. Thank you, Shannon. We really appreciate you.
Thank you, Andrew. It was a pleasure.
Awesome. So we'll see you guys again next week on, I almost said Journey of Sunday because that's my other program I do, but Cabin Fever. Thanks, guys. Take care.